James Wellness. Thank you for joining me today. I do appreciate it. This topic is about wine club memberships. A strategic management of your wine club memberships is something that I want to talk about. I have my thoughts and perspectives I want to give to you on that, so stay tuned. So if I was a wine producer, I'd have many wine clubs. I think they're important to have, and I think they do a good thing for the business, and it's a revenue stream to think about. And so almost every producer that I know, I don't know of anyone that doesn't. Sometimes they call it an allocation, which I kind of view as a membership anyway. That's just a different way of marketing that, so to speak. That could be another video, but ultimately, I want to talk about this where people feel stressed out about their wine clubs. And in 2021, people were stressed because they, I think, weren't getting the full benefit. I asked a question, well, why do you belong to one? And why aren't you drinking your wines? Or why did you let them accumulate? Why do you have that, particular tier of getting 3 or 4 bottles a quarter versus 2 or 1? And so I think these are the questions that people mystify the wine experience, wine purchasing experience, as opposed to demystifying it, and also being active and being strategic about your ownerships in the wines that you do own, the wine club memberships that you do have. I think that is essential, and that is so important to think about. So I want you to give 5 things to think about when acquiring wine. It's not about a wine membership yet. So what do you feel comfortable about spending per bottle annually? So maybe you have 2 different wines. Maybe one is a everyday drinkable and special wine, maybe a special occasion wine. What are the maximum bottle price points you're willing to spend on that? So think about that, write it down, put it in a spreadsheet, put it in your personal journal, share this with your partner so you can have a discussion about that. And number 2, how many bottles do you drink per week? 1 or 2? There's no judgment here. It's just, this is between you and your paper or your spreadsheet. If you do know that, then you can, work on a budget, write it out. So here's an example budget that I wrote up in an article, and I'll actually post that article down below if you want to, delve further into this topical matter. You've got to budget this out, because I think it's important to understand what you're spending. I think the wine club memberships that people often get into, especially those that reached out to me, were higher tiers and they're more comfortable on spending and enjoying those wines. So in this example here, you can see I wrote down a budget of $1,450 per year, and some might say that's really too much or too little. This is just an example, and this is made up. This isn't me. So here's an example of a budget. Now, $1,450 is allocated per year to purchase wine. And some might think that's too expensive or too little. You make it what it is in your own household. And then look at the wine club membership, $644. That's about, say, $50, $55 a bottle. And so that'll also differ by quarter. Sometimes a producer will have more bottles that they release in quarter 4 than quarter 1, 2, and 3. So that's a different price point. You also have to pay taxes as well as shipping fees. So those prices are a little bit different. And also, what is the differential, or what is the percentage of the total of your wine club membership to your total budget? In this example, it's about 44%. Does that make sense to you? Is that too much? And I think people don't have insight on that. So you're not, thinking about that as well. You might have a line item of maybe travel or entertainment or food, but write it out specifically for wine, because I think once you get there, you might feel a little bit better about what you're spending on your wine club memberships. So what is your budget? Write it out, and where does it fit in with your general budget? I do this for, say, subscriptions, because who doesn't have a lot of online subscriptions? They seem to be, I'm getting charged for a lot of things all the time. So I want to make sure I'm managing it much more carefully. I feel comfortable because I know exactly what I'm spending money on versus surprises all the time. And, like wine, this should not be a surprise. When do you drink your wines? What are special occasion wines? And what is the price point for that versus maybe a weekly wine that you're enjoying? So what does your wine club membership cost? I asked these individuals, and I said, what are you paying per year? The answer is they didn't know. They said it varied. Well, yeah, of course it's going to vary, but I said it's not important that I know. It's important that you know, and you write that down, and you look at that compared to your total budget, and if that makes sense to you, and if that's okay for you to be spending that. My thought to that individual was, or individuals plural, is to really think about your wine club membership. Maybe that wine club is too expensive for you in terms of per bottle pricing, and you want to think about that differently. And I think that's where people were getting stressed about their purchasing costs on wine club wines. I think ultimately what ended up happening, in addition to collecting wines and not having an occasion to drink them or a special occasion, was that people weren't enjoying the experience of going on site because they weren't allowed to. A lot of things were closed in 20 and even this year 21. So that membership of having a free tasting was not available, and that perceived cost seemed to be much more expensive, and you're not getting, quote unquote, the value that you got before, or bang for the buck, so to speak. And so I think that's really something to think about. From a perspective of a wine club wine membership, it's going to be much more expensive to spend on an annual basis than if you pay for that specific tasting. Yes, it's fun. Sometimes you get special treatment, and yeah, I get it. It's fun to get some really great recognition when you go to your wine club that you belong to. So maybe, you want to stop and start as needed. Also, trade levels if you can, if you want to do that. Go from red to mixed, red and white, or maybe go to all white wines. So manage that in terms of what you feel comfortable with. So maybe you can opt out for 1 quarter, and if you can't do that, maybe you can call your wine club manager and ask him if you could opt out just for 1 month or one quarter. And so I think there's an option there. You can also pause it for maybe a longer period, maybe for a year. You're going to take a break from that. And if you do take a break, you're more than welcome to come back. There's no wine club that's not going to welcome you back. They'll be excited that you've joined again. So, it's up to you to join, stop, start when you need to, and making sure you feel comfortable with that. And ultimately, you will be welcomed back. If you have more expensive wines in your wine club membership, when do you plan on drinking them? Write that down. Most people don't have a plan. Don't feel rushed about drinking your wines now, or at least in the near future. Perhaps you can let them age for 2 or 3 years. And sometimes there's notes you get from your wine club membership. And also you could even reach out to your wine club manager, ask him or her, how long did these wines age for? Can this last for, 5 to 10 years? And sometimes they can reach out to the winemaker and ask that question. So, it's a two-way street, and it's also, they're there to help you to, find satisfaction with that membership. So definitely seek that out, and also manage your price points to what you feel comfortable with. And number 3, balance wine club wines with wines you purchase at a retailer. And in my example here, there's money to go buy from a retailer, which you should buy from a small independent retailer, one that you like, one that knows you. And I think that's a really good way of buying wines that are inexpensive, and also that you feel not guilty about opening, and you can enjoy it on a more frequent basis. So a lot of people are not going to open up wines because some households, say one spouse or another, does not enjoy red wine, for example, but only one of the partners does. One of the spouses enjoys that. And I do have something called, this product here, which is called a repour. And you can put this on a bottle of red wine, for example. So people do panic about tasting their wines within 24 hours, and you shouldn't do that. Ultimately, this will last, say, 7 to 10 days. There's other methods of preserving your wine for a longer period of time, so you don't feel rushed to drink through that bottle in one night. You can drink it over 4 nights, so 1 glass per day. So definitely have a concrete plan, write it down. In fact, maybe you want to allocate some of the wines you do purchase in your wine club membership as a gift, especially to those people who enjoy getting wine as a gift. I definitely know a lot of people like that, so that's something to think about your wine club membership wines, and maybe your cellar in general. And number 5, don't collect to merely collect. Enjoy the wines from your membership, because ultimately not every wine is going to be a cult wine. Not every wine is going to appreciate to a Antiques Roadshow quality, so to speak. It doesn't mean that what you're paying for is not a legitimate price point. It is. It's again, it's like the car analogy where you buy a car and you return it 1 month later. Well, there's a stocking fee, and there's also a difference between what you paid for it and what they're going to buy the car back for. So everybody needs to make a profit in the business they're in, and wineries are no exception. So don't let the wine club membership manage you. You manage it strategically. You can work with your wine club manager, and also pause when needed. So there's a lot of things to think about, letting your wines age to a comfortable level. And you're probably not like me, where I have wines that are aged 30, 40 years. That's fine. I feel comfortable in that. I'm also comfortable that they may not survive the journey. So it's a different way of calibrating your thoughts about your wine club membership. I think there's things that I've enjoyed from the wine clubs I've belonged to, such as getting wines that are special or unique, and something that I can't get unless I am a member. Now there's an opportunity to acquire wines that I couldn't get without that membership. And you're in charge and no one else is. So make sure that you find happiness and joy, obviously in the wine that you're buying, but also in the membership that you are participating in. Thank you for watching. Stay connected. You'll find me on a variety of social media such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and WordPress. Down below, you'll see the link for the article that I wrote on this very subject matter, and that's where the subscribe button is also down below. So please hit that button. And if you haven't done so already, you will see the latest videos that I'm producing. If you've already hit that button, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup to you. I do appreciate it. The like button is down below. So again, let's stay connected, share this video, and subscribe again to this channel. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Santé.